I'm a typical first generation entrepreneur. Nobody ever in my family started a business or thought about it. I also came from a non-IT, background, and I normally go and tell everybody that CarWale is a story of very ordinary individuals who could actually spend a lot of time together and spend time building something very passionately, and therefore we could actually see some success in terms of building a great category in India like car research and classified, also generating enough money for investors who put in who trusted initially, angel investors. Some of them even made 200 times. So that gives a lot of satisfaction to say we build a category, we generate dollars for people, and we also have satisfaction in terms of helping consumers save a lot of hassles, time and money as they go about buying a car. So, but it's a story of very ordinary people who never been to an ID or IM or worked for McKinsey or a big company. It's been just very simple, ordinary folks who have been good friends and who came together to solve a problem. And I became an entrepreneur by accident. In 2000, I have an H1 visa to go to US. But then I went to Bhopal for a small holiday, and I was spending time in Bhopal. I happened to go to a village, and they're trying to put up a small kiosk to connect that kiosk with a district administration so that they can issue birth certificate, death certificate, khasra, land record, etc. And after a couple of months, when I went back to that village, I realized that the guy who was running it actually died because of a small disease like malaria or diarrhea. And when I inquired about it, the people told me that the guy died because there were no health facilities over here, and it was completely cut off from the district hospital. We could not really travel all the way to hospital because the roads are flooded in monsoon. There's no connectivity, and that was a big shock. I was about to go to US with a huge paycheck, and here I could see in my country the people who are dying of a small disease. So it was really shocking. And I said, I don't want to go to US. I want to stay here and see what I can do about it. And we decided to do something around telemedicine. We said that we'll connect a district hospital with a village and make sure that doctors can actually see the X-ray in real time. They can hear the pulse, they can see the vital signs, and advise the patient. And I try and reach Chief Minister and Health Minister and Secretary of Health over 2 years to tell them about the concept. And we built a small team of 8 people. And some of my friends from Saning School, or another guy who came from IIT Madras, and my MBA batchmate, we all, we brainstormed and we got together. They all gave up their really well-paying jobs and came down to a small city like Bhopal and trying to build this concept. What we realized was that government was not yet ready to experiment with that. They said there are no rules around it. There are no laws. If you can't transfer the data properly and the patient dies because doctor couldn't get advice on time, who would be responsible? And we realized that it could never take off. But trying to solve that problem over 2-3 years, we built a small team of very passionate coders and a good team in general. And I thought that before I really shut down and gave up my hopes, why don't I go to Bombay, because I started my career in Bombay. I knew the city. I said, let me go down to Bombay and figure out what can I do. Is there something that I can do? I came to Bombay. I happened to meet a used car dealer next day, and I met a dealer and I saw people. It was just like a visit to dealership along with a friend, just like that. And I saw that people buying car, and I interacted with them, and I realized that people, when they're buying car, don't really come out of car buying experience feeling great about it all the time. There are a lot of small frictions. They worry whether they sold their last car at the right price, whether they bought this car at the right price, whether they signed a blank loan agreement, whether it was all proper. They worry about did they got a right deal on X series, and etc. etc. So we could really see there are a lot of frictions. Whether you buy a used car or a new car, it's a great purchase for you. It's a new car. Even if a second-hand car is like a new car for you as a buyer. And car buying, we normally say, is one of the most expensive investment you can make after house, a spouse, or whatever order, spouse, house, and car. And this is also one of the things you spend a lot of time with. You spend a lot of time in house and with a spouse, and also now in Bombay, city like Bombay, you spend so much time in car, possibly more time than you spend in house at times. And we said, if this is such a significant involvement, such a significant purchase, then why do people have to have friction around it? And that has given us the thought to say, we should do something about it. And we started this company virtually from nowhere. We had no cash. We struggled to open a bank account for CarWale, and we went to 10 banks. We had no cash to put into a bank. We just have a check from one of the customer. And after visiting 10th bank, one of the bank managers agreed that he will put 500 rupees on our behalf and withdraw when we get the check get realized. So we started almost from nowhere. And we raised some money from our friends, families, whoever we could go to, and I think we started building it up. But we were really passionate about solving that problem, trying to tell people how to go about buying a car. We wanted to make the inventory available to them. We wanted to give them an on-road price code and make sure that they don't have to hop dealership to dealership to get a price code. We wanted to give them a great test drive experience, etc., etc. And that's how the CarWale started. I think we started in 2005 October, and 2006 we raised a early stage round with seed fund, and seed fund was started by the people who invested into India Bulls and India Games, and I thought they were the great people to work with. And then we raised another round with Sierra Ventures in 2008. And the good thing was, with the very little money that we raised, we were able to build this company to a profitable stage. We were able to scale the business a lot and go and deliver great return in terms of the revenues and some small marginal profit at that point of time. And I think we also, over last couple of years, we are possibly one of those consumer internet companies who generates profit and not just revenues. We've been growing at 50%, 70% year on year, and despite the fact that, and we are a very disciplined company in the sense that we focus a lot on the product, we focus a lot on the innovation versus just going and doing a blind marketing spend to acquire customer. We believe that if we build the right products, we'll have a huge word of mouth. I think our repeat customers have been like 80-90% typically. And for example, in just last 6 months, the traffic has grown to 7.5 million visitors on CarWale and about 1 million visitors on BikeWale. And this is almost like 50-60% growth over the last 6 months. And fundamentally not because of any outside marketing investment, but just because we invested a lot into innovating with the products and making sure that we can get the pulse of the customer and really help them in the whole car buying experience. And we live by the mantra that the car buying has to get simplified, and that's where everything is focused on. So today we are around 330 people in the company, and so 30% of the company is still owned by founders and employees, and Axel Springer, who's a German big media conglomerate with few billion euros in revenues, and they own 140 properties, digital properties across the globe. They acquired a stake in CarWale in 2010, and but we still believe that CarWale is yet to reach its potential. We believe that an auto vertical is a great IPO case almost in every market that you can look at. So China would have a similar company and they would do revenue around about $200 million, and Australia will have a similar company at a revenue of $250 to $300 million. US will have a couple of them with leading portal would do $1 billion in revenues. We believe India is really set. India's car transaction market is worth around about $37 billion today. It's set to be doubled in the next 5-6 years. Even after having such a degrowth in the last 2 years, I think the market is going to pick up, and we can already see some signs. People have come and made huge investments in terms of plants and capabilities to make production over here, and all this is going to, when the market revives and this is going to kick off, I think India will see huge growth. Today, India has around about 1.8 cars for every 100 people. Compare this to Australia, where they got 1 car for every Australian, or US they got 70% penetration, 70 cars for every 100 people. I think we are nowhere. We are like 1.8 cars for every 100 people. This would, even if when it becomes 3 cars for every 100 people, we would be worth third largest auto market with around about 11% market share in the worldwide car volume. And if that happens, I think something like CarWale would be in a position to be among top 5, top 10 auto sites in the world. And I think we're pretty geared up for that. I think we innovated a lot with our business model. We started with a pure classified play, and we realized that the bigger thing would be the new car research, and people have a struggle in searching new car, and that's where also they make the biggest investment. And we started focusing on that. We come up with a lot of product, to help somebody recommend a car and say, what car would be right for you. India would have almost, you will have choices of 40-50 cars just in around about 4 lakh rupees a segment. If you look at 6 to 10 lakh rupees segment, you might have 80 choices. So we said car buying is not just making the right selection is not that simple. Let's build a product around that. We said how do we get you right price? How do you connect with a dealership to deliver a test drive on time? With lot of manufacturers, we actually saw that you go to their website, fill up a test drive form, you'll get an automated email in 2 days, maybe call center will call in 3 days, and dealer will call you in 10 days, maybe the test drive will happen in 15 days, which was not the way to treat a car buying prospect. So we said, how do we really change that? And we started partnering with dealership. We started partnering with manufacturers. So today we work with almost 850 used car dealerships. We work with almost 500 new car dealerships across the country. We work with 6 manufacturers in a very long-term deal where we not only manage, customers who come on CarWale, but possibly all the customers which come on their website or which come and reach those manufacturers on a phone call, helpline or SMS or on their websites. And with all these customers, we try and build a whole process around, serving their needs, giving them a right consultation, giving them right product explanation, and taking the next logical step. You may need to get connected with the dealership for a quote. You may need to get connected with the dealership for a test drive, or maybe one more test drive for you because you're not happy with the earlier one. And I think we do try and do all of these for the manufacturer. For some of the manufacturers, we almost contribute 5% to 10% of their overall country sales, and I think that's a significant chunk. This is also possible because 25% Indians who buy a car actually go through CarWale. So with this 8.5 million traffic on our sites, we almost cater to more than 60% of the people who are coming online to buy a car. When we started up, people didn't even believe that there's internet would be able to attract a car buyer, a car researcher, generate a lead, or give them a platform to reach out to them through brand awareness or marketing. None of that was there, right? We struggled to go to dealership. And I remember, going to dealership who were telling us that, look at my dealership, and look at the outside of the dealership. We had enough people waiting to buy a car. I had waiting on most of the cars. And what are you talking about? Giving me more customers? Giving me one more platform to go and advertise? I'm sorry, I'm not really interested. And this went on and on and on for, I think, 2005, 6, early 2007, till the time we start getting traction on the side, and we can go and tell people that look, we have enough people inquiring about your brand. We can go and tell people and influence dealership and manufacturer by telling them how people's preferences are changing, how people are getting better and better experience with other products, how people, when they want to buy an insurance online, somebody called them back in half an hour, how when people go and want to look at a real estate, a broker reaches out to them in 10 minutes. And therefore, when somebody wants a test drive, why should we not really reach out to that guy in less than 5 minutes? We start telling people, how their consideration is changing. With the car they looked at initially, how their preference is changing with the new brands coming in. We told people that how do people are unsatisfied when nobody calls them in 4 hours? How do they change their brand? They change their dealerships. I think all that started making a big difference to the manufacturing dealership and their mindset. So we built the whole category. Today we see a lot of other sites coming and doing it. I think, but we pioneered the whole space by building the category, by getting dealers and manufacturers having a faith that online could be possibly the most accountable and most efficient medium to reach out to a customer. Even now, I think the digital has just gone to a notch above, with the rest of in terms of innovation, in terms of capabilities compared to how the other medium actually evolved. I think you can track a customer's whole journey. You can track the whole accountability. You can actually track, how many people came, what they did on the site, what brand they really looked at, what they inquired about it, what happened to them when they went to dealership, did they bought the car, not bought the car, why they did not do it. We got so much more in consumer analytics and data, and with the big data coming into picture, I think we are a lot more accurate in terms of who is likely to enter into a transaction, who is not, and why and when, etc. I think all that is changing the landscape completely, and over a period of time, I think digital will become possible. It's already the most efficient medium, but it will become even more accountable and even more efficient. And I think internet has become the mainstream. I think it's the mass channel, mass medium now. We are talking about almost 150 million internet users now, and if you include mobile and everybody else, it could be close to 200 million users versus 125 million people who watch TV and satellite TV actually, or 70 million people who were reading this newspaper. So I think this internet is a mass media, and it got the largest reach versus anything else in this country. I think India is only one of the countries where 60% people are researching a car before they come and enter into a transaction. And I think it will go a much longer way. This is when we're talking about maybe a 12% penetration. A developed market got 85% people researching a car before on internet before they go and buy it. And even the influence of friends and families in buying a car, is fundamentally happening on a social network now. You got a lot of friends and families all over the connected to you on Facebook or Twitter, and you go and seek their opinion over there. So web digital start making a lot more influence. Not just in terms of the way you research, but the way you make your opinion through other people, to other people, and your other connection. So to me, I think this is going to go further. And what I see is that in 5 years, India can possibly have around about 50 manufacturers, or 50 brands available in this country for car buyers. And when that really happens, I think manufacturers started spending. Today they spend around about 8 to 10% of their budgets on digital. Maybe this would shift to almost like 20% of their budget would go to online. And today manufacturers spend around about 3,000 crores in India in terms of their advertising. And I think this is likely to go to up to 4,500 crores in 4 or 5 years. And if you're talking about 20% of this is getting spent online, we're almost talking about 1,000 crore being spent digitally for addressing a car audience. I remember when we started, we were actually talking to every friend and family to say, how do we raise money and how do we survive to the next month, etc. And come 2006, we started getting some early stage VCs in this country, and they started putting up shop here coming from US. And I think that was the time when we signed seed fund, and we saw a lot more growth in 2008. And of course, the debacle in 2008, where everybody believed that it's a big recession. And I think we survived, and it did not change much. But I realized that just in last 3 years, almost everybody and every large digital group or a auto vertical who had looked at India very, very seriously. I think we get a call from one of the big players every quarter to think about, how do we see this market? They want to enter over here, and so many of them are already here actually. And we get, we almost a PE fund reach out to us every 6 months, trying to say, if we are open for a larger transaction, if we can get them participating in a way. So to me, everybody believes in this whole growth story so much, despite the fact that car market has not grown, and there's so many things which we have faced in the last 2 years. But I think it's revived. People have still believe that India got a lot of growth potential, and we are talking about 12% penetration versus we can reach out to like 30-35% in next 3-4 years. We are possibly 4-5 years behind China, but if we start getting that kind of attraction to go to 30% penetration, I think it would be huge. The economy would be huge. It would be like 4-5 times than what we are here today. And I think people's faith to go and do a transaction online is not significant. I could just see even on CarWale, we recently did a booking engine for Audi, and 125 people came and booked Audi online, just by filling a form, swapping their car online, and giving their credit card details, and just making a booking transaction. I mean, that was unbelievable, right? People are going to book a car online. There's not going to be a mainstream, and that's not the point. The point is that people have a comfort and they believe that they trust the medium a lot more, that they can give their credit card details, they can get the transaction done. And we see it all around ourselves, right? People's habits are changing. They're so much more comfortable buying book online. They're comfortable buying even consumer durables online now, etc. So I think it's taken off well, and there's so much more faith in India as a story, which we can really see also in terms of the kind of startups and the entrepreneurship model which have evolved over the last couple of years, because I think the models are really, what do you call it? They got good traction. Then there's no bubble in it. They're the models which are on very solid business grounds. They see traction very early on. They're able to monetize the traffic. They've been able to go and raise sustainable capital for themselves. I think that's all very good signs in terms of India's entrepreneurship story. What has also changed a lot is that the people are willing to take risk, both venture capitalists and entrepreneurs. I think organizations like TAI and have also helped significantly in this. The accelerator programs, and where people can actually go and put up a startup for 3 to 6 months, get mentored by some of the industry veterans, and get validation on their model or take a small risk. I think this helps significantly. I come across 2 to 3 startups every month, and I can just see the quality of their business model, the quality of their thinking on the business plan, the quality of the kind of talent they want to attract. I think is changed significantly. People are not tired of, people are not afraid of, taking risk or having some early failures. They know that if they stay on enough, if they try and get the model right, they will be successful. And so I think the risk-taking abilities has come a long way, and so is the fear, of failure has dimmed significantly. And also the family and the friends, they are a lot more supportive. They believe that entrepreneurship is something, is a lot more passionate. It's a lot to do with passion and fulfilling your dreams versus, I didn't find a job and that's the only way for me is to start my own company. I mean, it's no longer like that. We have a hard time, convincing our families why we're doing a startup and why we're trying to solve a problem, which nobody ever did earlier versus what we see now. One of the things I'm very sure about is that, auto as a vertical is going to have one big internet IPO from this country. We can expect that one of the auto vertical, and I think we are really set to go and achieve that ourselves, would do $500 million to $1 billion in valuation over just 5-6 years, because it's possible for them to go and get a big chunk of advertising revenues from manufacture, which is a very growing segment in this country. That's one. Second, I think what also is changing is that the role that CarWale can actually play not only in terms of helping people do better research through content and now videos, and I think we're focusing a lot on that, is also look at the whole commute space and help people. How do I help people go from point A to point B? And it could be, giving you a much better accurate sense of time and availability of multiple modes of transport, be it buses, trains or taxis, and also try and build a multi-mode trip planner integrator and say, how do I really put all of this together and then become your personal assistant for daily commute? So I think the car ownership is fundamentally changing. It would change in 5 to 10 years, and I think India go through a big leap. And we see some trends of car sharing and bike sharing in US, or model like Zipcar, where people are self-driven cars versus chauffeur-driven cars or driver cars. I think it's already changing, and it's much likely that India will see these things much faster, basically, and versus later. So if we see these things happening, if these things start happening in India, I believe that the ability to put these things together and say, how do I have a lot more sharing, carpool, integrating multiple modes of transport, will become a lot more lucrative as a business model. And I think CarWale could play a significant role in that, because we believe that we are just not here to help people buy cars, but we are here to help people, ultimately commute from point A to point B. CarWale is also part of Axel Springer, which is a huge media conglomerate, and we would be interested in classified space in general. So we would be very open to look at real estate, jobs, and say, what company we can really build in that space, or what company we can really acquire in that space. And our goal would be to be one of the largest classified player in this country, and it's from this part of the world. We believe which I believe is going to be one of the most lucrative and growing segment.